you and I both know from firsthand experience that Prime Minister Netanyahu does not actually believe that diplomacy will work. He is willing for tactical reasons to give it time and has given it time. Do you believe that diplomacy could work?
It depends. It depends on
That's a very diplomatic answer.
Hey, it depends on Iranian actions. So I would frame it this way. The United States and Israel have nearly identical interests, but not identical interests in total. Two American presidents, George Bush and Barack Obama, have both taken the same approach to Iran. Both have said, we will deny Iran a nuclear weapon. Both have said we're willing to use any means available, i.e. the use of force, to accomplish that. Both have said we'd prefer a diplomatic solution, so I was the Iran negotiator in President Bush's second term for 3 years, 2005 to 2008, working for Condi Rice. President Bush and President Obama have had a nearly identical strategy. We want to talk to Iran. Failing productive discussions, and they've been all unproductive since 2006 and 2007, we're going to sanction Iran. So we put the most onerous sanctions on Iran possible. There are state-to-state sanctions that the UN Security Council has taken 4 times, 4 Chapter 7 Security Council resolutions. I negotiated for the U.S. the first 3. More importantly, the Treasury Department has put really crippling financial sanctions on the Iranians. Has it resolved the problem? No. Has it made life more difficult for the Iranians? Yes, because the rial, as you know, has depreciated, depending on your estimate, by 30 to 40% over the last year. Iran now is exporting about 1/3 of the oil that it was exporting 2 years ago because of these sanctions. There's buy-in from nearly all the world to the sanctions. So we have been able to form, particularly under President Obama's leadership, an international coalition that includes all of Europe, and we have the British ambassador to the United States, Peter Westmacott, is with us today, and his nation has been a leader in this. All of Europe with us. EU financial sanctions, EU oil embargo on Iran. We have most of the Asian countries, particularly the Japanese and South Koreans now, coming on board, the Indians coming on board, so Iran is isolated. And that's an effective thing to do when you're trying to negotiate, because you're trying to build up leverage on your side of the table. We've built up some leverage. So you've got sanctions in place. You have the threat of force. The third instrument that both President Bush and Obama have undertaken is, can we negotiate with these guys? And until now, the real tragedy in this relationship is that we have not had a sustained, substantive conversation with the Iranians in 34 years. Our hostages were taken on November 4th, 1979. 52 American diplomats. They were held for 444 days until President Reagan's inauguration in January of '81. We have not had a sustained conversation with the Iranians since then. We broke diplomatic relations. We don't have embassies in either capital. We don't have American journalists really being able to travel much to Iran. Very few American business people there. We have a much greater familiarity with North Korea and Cuba and Venezuela than we do with Iran. If you're trying to negotiate with them, and if the question is, can we convince them not to produce a nuclear weapon, but to agree to some kind of negotiated solution short of that, you've got to have a sense of who they are. You've got to have a sense of what their bottom line is, what their capability is, what they want to achieve. The only way you can do that is sit down with them. So what's going to happen now? After very desultory negotiations in the spring of this year, there's a new Iranian president. I suspect that Amos and I will agree on who he is and what he stands for. But I think President Obama's intention is test this guy. Sit down with him, perhaps to get into a negotiation where on one side of the table will be the United States, Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and China. We're in one group. Iran is on the other side of the table. And that group will bring a lot of leverage, some intimidation, a lot of pushing of the Iranians towards some kind of negotiated settlement where they're not able to produce a nuclear weapon. They'll subject themselves to intensive international safeguards, and we ought to test the proposition whether that can succeed. Now, Jeff, the key question is, if it cannot succeed, and if we think Iran is heading towards the nuclear red lines that Israel and the U.S. have established, then you've got the big question for President Obama. Do we use force or not? Does Israel use force or not? But we're not there yet. I think the next 5 or 6 months you'll see negotiations at the center of this.